Hello and welcome to the Liverpool Way podcast after the Reds hit Qarabag for 6. It was a rare open game of football against an opponent that wasn't interested in set pieces or even really trying to defend, and it was a refreshing change from what we see on a week-to-week basis. I'm Dave Usher, editor at liverpoolway.co.uk, and joining me for this one I've got Stu Montagu, who's been absent with a damaged laptop, but he's going to try and play through the pain and see how it goes. And I've also got the Wataro endo of the pod, Pete Schulz, who's been plucked from cold storage to do a job at right back for us. Pete, you haven't been on for a while, so we'll start with you. Just overall thoughts on the game, what you take from it, and I suppose we need to talk about Frimpong's injury as well and the impact that's going to have moving forward.
Yeah. I thought, first of all, it was enjoyable. I mean, we've not really been able to say that a lot this season. Now I think it's 2 in the last 3 that I thought were enjoyable, and in the Champions League. But sometimes you have to take what you can get. We're not doing well, so whenever we are sort of in a positive moment, let's dwell on that for a second. I enjoyed last night. It was like watching Liverpool again. I think I said on the chat last night, I thought it was a nice little reminder that our players are actually decent, all things considered, because we don't always see it, and obviously they are among the best in Europe at what they do, and that's obvious when they play against players that aren't. So I mean, 6-0 and a positive performance, and the players had fun, and that was very positive. Obviously, as you mentioned, Frimpong's injury was the opposite, I think you can say. Can I just say I have a bit of I've had some technical issues today, so if I have to go at some point, if I lose connection, then I'll try and come back as soon as I can.
Well, you're on with Stu, and he's famous for his technical issues, so I'm on with the Chuckle Brothers. At some point I may end up just doing this on my own, so we'll just see how it goes. But yeah, carry on, please.
Yeah, so that was all very, 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 very positive, I thought, and we scored set piece goals, several of them, and didn't concede any set piece goals.
I don't think we conceded a set piece, did we? I can't really remember.
No, I saw a statistic afterwards saying that in the Champions League, I think we're 9+ for set piece goals, and we still haven't conceded from a set piece in the Champions League this season. And then you look at the Premier League, and it's completely opposite. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe you can give me an explanation.
The focus in the Premier League is totally different. I think
physicality.
Europe haven't caught up with that yet, thankfully. Whereas the Premier League's just gone the full Arteta now, aren't they? Everyone's wanting to do the same thing. On that, I'll mention this now before I forget, but my dad made a point about this game, and he was just watching us over the corner, and he went, "These aren't even holding or wrestling or doing anything. Our players were just running around in the box, totally unchecked, unblocked, and they don't. It's probably because they don't need to do that in their own league. They don't need to do all the wrestling, and most of these teams, I bet they haven't got set piece coaches. Most of these Champions League teams, it will creep in eventually, and it will be everywhere. But at the moment, it's not like that in Europe, which is why we're scoring plenty of goals from set pieces. We're not conceding any, and then it's the total opposite in the Premier League because everyone's like so focused on that. Bigger, stronger, more well organised, all of that stuff. It's a different sport. I've said it before, but it is. Like, the Champions League's a sport that we're good at, and the Premier League now we're not so good at, and you can see it with these games. I mean, our last 2 Champions League games, it's 9-0. How long does it take us to score 9 goals in the Premier League? Fucking 10 games, something like that. And how long can we go without conceding a goal? 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So it's completely different. and it's partly to do with quality, don't get me wrong, but it's also to do with style of play. I mean, you're saying how enjoyable that was, Pete, and it was. The reason why is because they just came and were like, yeah, we're just going to have a game of footy, but yeah, we'll go toe-to-toe and we'll see what happens. They were playing out from the back when they were 5-0 down. They were still doing it and still getting caught, but at no point did they say, you know what, let's just make this a bit more difficult for them. That's how they play. These teams, they're the big fish in their little pond in their own countries, and this is how they play. And then now they're the little fish in a big pond, but they can't just say, right, we're going to go and play like fucking West Ham. We're going to play like a Nuno coach team and just sit back, or play like Palace or whatever. They can't do it because that's not how they play every week. And that's why you're coming up against these teams who they'll have a go at you. They will try to play football. It's an open game, and in that situation we are very good. Stu, I mean, you've got I think you said something similar on that in the chat last night, so you got thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting when you come against these teams. I think even the stronger European teams, I mean, these aren't particularly strong. They've had a few results, didn't they? I think they beat Benfica, they beat Copenhagen, so they're not total bums, but
they're not top of their own league either, you know. They're the second best team in Azerbaijan. Just to put some perspective on this.
But we come into these European games and they just can't cope with the physicality. The Premier League's got that intensity, and you look now, you've got like the top 5, you got 5 of the top 8, is it, that went through, all Premier League teams. Even Spurs are like twatting teams like Dortmund.
Spurs
and stuff
have been
like
playing Europa League teams all season, though, haven't they?
Yeah,
they're in a false position, but the overall point is correct. Like,
yeah, whichever way you go about it, there's basically PSG and Bayern, and maybe you know, that's it. Real Madrid that don't struggle when they come up against English teams now in the Champions League because of the level of dominance, and because you just you're being forged in fire really in the Premier League, where it's just so tough. It's tougher to get a result against Burnley than it is against Marseille.
Well, let me ask you something on that point, because I've put this in the match report just before, and I would be interested to know what you think about it. I would love to see Real Madrid having to go away to Burnley and Brentford and see how they cope. I'd love to see it, because we know how tough it is, but like in theory, like Real Madrid against Burnley, but like I think they'd find it really tough.
Yeah, they would, because it's also, you've got to be able to do different things as well, haven't you? You've got to be able to deal with that fucking throw that causes that loses us the game against Bournemouth. You know, there's all this other shit that you've got to deal with that they don't have to deal with in the Spanish league. Again, that's also a bit why, depth-wise, you look at Real Madrid so often, it's like they've got like 12 players, and you know, player 14 and 15 don't look particularly good. You know, you've got that Nacho playing for them for years, and you know, he's not that great. But that's also because they don't need the depth. It's an interesting one because the Prem teams are like forged in fire, so they are so competitive. But it also, because of that, that's when you get to the end of the season and they're absolutely fucked because they're all running on fumes because they've all just been going to war for like twice a week. So it's a balance, isn't it? I think that's probably the only reason why the English teams don't absolutely dominate the Champions League, is they've got all these advantages, but they've also got the disadvantage that the league doesn't particularly set the fixture list to help you out, but also like you're just knackered by the end of it. You're injured, you're battered, you know, you've had to go to war every single week in a way that PSG don't. But again, as we said on the other side of it, for years PSG, anytime they go,
Arne, stop going on about PSG.
I'm just saying, because for me they're the best footballing team around. So when they used to come up against any sort of like pushback,
did he go?
Yeah, Stu's laptop's playing up again, and he probably doesn't know.
I think the point, you see it in
the... You died off again there, Stu.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you see Stu's point in the summer competitions as well. Like in the Euros and the World Cups, you see lots of Premier League players every time that have played all season and have been brilliant, and then when they get to the summer, they're knackered. And sometimes it helps them if they've actually been out for 3 or 4 months during the season with an injury. If they get back in time to get ready for it, then that helps them in the World Cup or the Euros.
I think you were saying about like PSG have got it so easy week in, week out. That
and then they come up against a bit of adversity and they have like 4 hard games a year and then suddenly they fold. That's the difference, isn't it, when you play in those leagues?
They didn't last year, but generally speaking,
yeah, mostly
tends to happen. But yeah, I mean, I don't think you can only beat what's in front of you, and we played well. We scored some nice goals. I actually thought, to be fair to them, I thought in the first half, like we were pressing high and we were doing it well, but they were taking so many chances and they were generally paying off.
Yeah,
and some of the way they played through us, I was like, this is really good. And I wasn't saying, oh, look at that, they're playing through us, what are we doing? Because I don't think we were doing much wrong. I just think they were playing really high risk football in and around their own box, especially that fucking centre back. the one he was doing like the Cruyff turns at like 3 yards from his own goal line and stuff.
Needs to show some respect.
Yeah, but they were taking a lot of risks and they were playing some really nice stuff. The little fella in midfield, the little number 9, he was getting on the ball and turning. They were good to watch, but they just when they got into the final third, there was nothing there really. But yeah, they played some really nice stuff from back to front. But because they kept doing that, you look at that and go, well, that suits us, because eventually, we're just going to smother them. Because everyone talks about how our press is no good these days and we don't do it and stuff, and I agree. But I do think there's certain mitigating circumstances for it, because in certain games you can't do it because the opposition's not playing out like that anyway, so it takes that off the table. But they were. So the only Premier League sides who I feel like do that all the time is Villa. Brighton do it quite a bit as well, so that allows you to sort of high press. Most of the time you can't really do that. The issue with our press is more to do with the counter press, I think. It's not, because sometimes you just can't press high because of what the other team's doing. But when you lose the ball, you should be able to press then to get it back, and I think that's where we're not very good. But last night I thought we did that really well, winning the ball high. And it's paid off. We've scored 6 goals, but I do think in the first half we got 2. One was a set piece. I thought the opportunities were there for us to get like 4 or 5 in that first half, because we kept winning it so high. You get in those situations where like you're 3v3, 4v3 or whatever, and it just never, the final ball was just lacking, I thought. But such a wide open game. I mean, that's the most wide open game of the season for me.
Well, ever since Southampton the other year, when we got experience, maybe
Stu's boy Russell Martin, yeah. The way they were in the second half last night, I put in the chat, I went, did Russell Martin take over these at half time? What's going on? You didn't bite to that though, Stu. I was a bit disappointed there. I didn't get you.
Did you? Yeah, you don't get a nibble now.
No.
I think we've done that dance enough, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, just a really open game, and that suited us.
Yeah, I think it was like you say, it was good. It was end-to-end stuff. It was almost in a way when, because we've got so many injuries now, once we got ourselves ahead, I think it was at 2-0 or 3-0, I was actually sort of half wanting a bit of walking football, so just take it easy and no need to put any effort in.
Yeah.
But it's nice to run up the score and whatever. And it sounds strange in a game where we won 6-0, but probably still a bit wasteful as well.
Yeah.
We had loads of chances and didn't take them. Which I suppose you're going to get that in a game where it's a 6-0 game. But yeah, really enjoyable. A lot of good football. And again, bits and bobs there from Wirtz and Hugo with nice little bits of link up. Again, probably just the same as they've been for about 2 months. Bit wasteful. I sometimes think that I'd like them to care a bit more about giving it away, but there's such a high level there with those two that it's scary how good they could become together, I think.
Yeah. Like, I thought the first half, obviously we've scored 2 and we've had a few other chances. Again, this is a common criticism for me. It's not so much the missed chances, it's the missed chances to create the chances. That's the bigger issue.
Definitely.
And a lot of that comes from when you've got those breaks, when you've got like the 4 players running at them or whatever, and they've got options, and they'll either pick the wrong option, or a defender will make a last ditch clearance, or you play it to Cody Gakpo, and then you know what's coming next. I actually thought he was okay last night. He had a couple of shots with his left foot
High
where
praise.
he didn't cut in, and I thought is the penny finally dropping there, or I don't know, but it would have been nice for him to have got a goal last night, because he had enough decent moments where he could have got on the score sheet. Just didn't quite happen for him. But again, this is something I've just put in the match report. Is like, looking in those scenarios when we're flying forward like that, I just find us to be so wasteful. And I think it comes back to, this might be normal, this might be how most teams are, I don't know, but I've just got it in my head, when like you're watching that develop, and to me it's like Sadio, Bobby, Mo flying forward, and it always just ended with one of them playing a ball through for somebody else, and and them getting the shot away or the goal or whatever, and we've dropped off massively in that area, because obviously Mo's not the player that he was, and you haven't got Sadio and Bobby there anymore. But it just kind of shows, like, as I say, I feel like this might be quite normal. It just shows how spoilt we were with that 3 more than anything, because so many of those European games, away games especially, where you can just picture it in your head, can't you, when like they're just running wild on counter-attacks and stuff. And yeah, I just really missed that, to be honest.
I think so much of that was Bobby Firmino as well, like just moving wherever he needed to move for the other 2.
Yeah,
you realise so much how good he was, and he'd always make the right run, play the right pass, and then the other 2 would get the glory for it. I think a lot of that, when you look at that flying arrow stuff, he was just incredible in those moves.
Yeah, no, what a player. But we did score 2 in the first half. I think Pete's dropped out. I think Pete's Wi-Fi's gone at the moment, so waiting for him to come back. So me and you'll just have to keep this going, Stu. So first goal's a corner. Again, goes back to what I said. Like, in Europe, we're actually good from corners. I think Virgil must have got like first contact on at least half of the corners we put in last night. No one holding him back, no one blocking him. He was just allowed to just run and go and attack the ball. Ironically, the opening goal wasn't him attacking the ball. It was Hugo, wasn't it? Got the flick on.
Yeah.
And then Virgil arrives at the back post, kind of doesn't really get anything on it, and Mac is there to nod it in.
It just did pretty well, actually. Yeah, it was. They were crap on set pieces, but I thought Verge just did pretty well there, and then Maka reacts quite well. Keeper almost pulled off a bit of a worldie there to keep that out.
Yeah, he did.
But yeah, there was a couple, weren't there, where like the keepers flapped at one and punched it back into the 6-yard box and stuff like that. It was interesting to see how bad they were on set pieces. Like you said, we have been good in the Champions League on them.
Yeah.
And again, like we said as well, it's interesting to see how that translates into the Premier League as almost nothing. Like, there's, we're getting murdered on set pieces in the league, and then you come to the Champions League and you're the big boys and you get your joy for it. But yeah, it was a decent start, and Maka gets his first goal before he gets his second as well, and could have had a hat-trick as well, to be fair.
Should have, yeah.
We should have at least, I imagine just kicking the ball would have been a good idea on that Salazar ball, make contact at least, for Christ's sake. But yeah, decent.
Pete's back now, so Pete, do you want to talk us through the second goal? I know you've just watched them this morning, just to recap, so you didn't get caught out. I haven't watched them back, so I'm relying on you here.
Well, the second goal looked a bit like something we've seen before this season, with, if I recall it correctly, with Ekitike somehow, taking the ball and turning and running with it, and then, slipping it to one side with Vitz coming, in full speed and, into the box or on the edge of the box. I think we've seen Ekitike do that before, where it sort of looks, his long limbs, and he's so fast. And he gets space, and then he just sort of passes it sideways, and that makes the whole situation, because it's so easy to finish from there after what he's done, and from then on the game was over.
Yeah, it was. They didn't look like they had one goal in them, never mind 2, but they still kept playing their pretty stuff from the back, going up the pitch. It was, a lot of it was really nice to watch. But you also know, you keep doing that, you're not going to do it every time, and when we rob it, you're in trouble. But yeah, we didn't get any more goals in the first half. I want to go back to the Frimpong injury, actually. I was really, really surprised that Endo went to right back, because you just assume now, don't you know, it's going to be Dom. But it wasn't. He put Endo there. Now, do we think that is because of the opponent and how much of the ball we were going to have, and he's wanted Dom further forward? Or, because I suppose what I'm asking is, Endo's not going to play right back against Anthony Gordon on Saturday, is he? Tell me he's not.
It could have been because of the opposition, but then also with Curtis not being available, you know, if he'd had him on the bench, would he have then put him in midfield and Szoboszlai at right back, or even Curtis Jones at right back? I think you wanted to keep the balance of the midfield as, you know, as he'd set out to do, and that was an attacking midfield. And if you all of a sudden put Endo in there, that would have changed it negatively or defensively. And I think maybe it's because he didn't want to, and maybe he didn't want to change that aspect as well. Also, you know, how much did Endo have to do defensively?
Nothing really.
Not a lot. No.
I thought the same thing. For me, I thought Endo would go into midfield and Szoboszlai go to right back, just because in attacking sense as well, you can still get loads out of him from right back attacking against them, can't you? And I also thought, like, I suppose that is there Qarabag's one way to get a bit of joy would have been, you know, if they had a tricky winger or something, then suddenly you get Endo. But I think in the end it doesn't make a difference, does it? Slot's looked at it and obviously not really showed them that much respect and gone, it's fine, we'll just throw him there. And to be fair to him, actually, in the second half he got a couple of crosses in and actually started playing a little bit like a proper right back. But I thought that was a strange one as well. But he's going to get more minutes now, isn't he? I would have thought, given Frimpong's injury leaves us.
Well, given that he's a defensive player and we don't have any.
Yeah. Well, we're just brutally short, aren't we now, at the back when you look. And the problem you've got is injuries. When you get to this point with injury problems, they start to cascade, don't they? Because then players who are in the red zone have got to play more often.
Frimpong.
And so it just, I'm a bit worried now. I know that you've been getting a bit of stick, Dave, haven't you, on the forum for the pod being a bit negative. So I think you've done a bit of a slaughter, haven't you? You've had a big reaction and changed your game up totally. brought the two more positive lads on. You
aren't that positive though. That's the thing. You may not be Paul and Brownie, but you probably seem positive because you're not Paul and Brownie. But
you were hemorrhaging goals, so you decided to shut up shop.
So everything's perfect. Everything's wonderful.
A few weeks ago, John B was the one. John B was like the one, back the manager and all of that, until he nearly sold Robbo, and then that was it. Now he's out. JP's like, no, get him gone.
What I was going to say was as like one of the less on his back, let's say, or one of the less worried maybe about how it is. It isn't. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's great, and I'm not sure he can sort it out. But I think I'm one of those who thinks he should get a chance to sort it out, and that the football over the last couple of weeks it has been better. I know you were saying on the pod. It sounds mad, but I do think the football against Burnley was good. It was, you know, some of the stuff around the box was as good as we've seen this year, and especially like it's better than other teams. No one else is playing. When we're talking about the style of football, the quality of football, who else is playing good attacking football in the league? You know, I haven't seen City do the stuff that we were doing against Burnley against the low block. I thought there was everything up until the shot was really good. So the last couple of games have been like, okay, maybe you can sort it, and now I'm worried that the injuries are going to do him anyway. So even if he was going to turn it round, and even if the football was going to get better, these injuries are now going to fuck us, I think, over the next 6 or 8 weeks, and he's going to struggle a lot.
Which it's not really on him. You can argue that to some extent it is, because he's often said he prefers working with a small squad, and his thing was, I keep the players fit. Well, that's not happened, and now the small squad is biting us in the arse. But I would still put the most responsibility for that on those above him. And I also think he's not going to throw anyone under the bus like that, so he's going to make out that he's completely fine with the situation, even if he's not. He's like, I'm sure he did not want to go into the season without a Luis Diaz replacement. I'm absolutely positive he was not on board with that, but he's gone along with it, and he's not going to complain about it, because once you start doing that, you know where it ends up. So yeah, he's playing the good soldier and all of that, but a lot of this stuff doesn't fall at his door. I want to talk about the fitness levels of the players, not specifically injuries, although it is kind of in some ways it's related to that. But he said about how tired we looked against Bournemouth, and yeah, I feel like most games we do not look like the fitter of the two teams involved. I think that's been a problem. We've got a number of players, specifically the new signings, who are not up to speed yet, where they can't play 90 minutes every game. If they do play 90 minutes, they look absolutely fucked at the end of it, and that in itself brings problems because of the whole red zone thing that you mentioned. So he's now having to make substitutions or leave players out of games. Classic example, the Bournemouth game, he has to leave Ekitike on the bench. I would never criticise him for doing that, because he's not got a choice. This is not him being a smart ass and tactically messing things about and leaving his striker out. This kind of shit that Rafa used to do. That's not what this is. He wants to be picking these players all the time, but knows he can't. And the Frimpong thing, he actually addressed even before the game. He said people were questioning me about taking Frimpong off against Bournemouth, and he's like, but I could see he was tired, and I know that he's back from injury, and he's having to play more than I would like him to play because Conor Bradley's not there, so I had to take him off. And then lo and behold, 2 minutes into the next game, he pulls a muscle. So this is what he's up against. His team selections, I find it difficult to criticise any of that, because we know he's got issues with players who cannot play every game or are going to have to be protected in some way. And as you said, Stu, once you've got some players out, that makes it even more difficult, because the players who are having to play more than you want them to, and if those players, like Joe Gomez for example, you've got to be careful with Joe Gomez, but we've had to start him 2 games in a row. Now, the injury he got has nothing to do with that. It's an impact injury. But still, would anyone have been surprised if an hour into that game, Joe would have pulled a hamstring or something? But he had no choice. He had to pick him. And I agree with you in the sense that injuries now might actually prevent any sort of comeback for him. Even if he was capable of turning things around, and I don't think he is, but I'm not 100% on that. I mean, who am I to sit here and say, I'm definitely right, this guy cannot turn it around? I don't know. I've got my suspicions, and strong suspicions, and I think, yeah, he's probably cooked. But I don't know. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that he could fix things. But it's going to be really tough with the lack of bodies that he's got. And now we've got no right-backs. Even Gomez is out. He would be like your third right-back. So all 3 right-backs, 2 of them are out, because Frimpong's not going to be back anytime soon. Slot was kind of trying to be hopeful of that afterwards, saying, well, he won't play at the weekend, but after that we'll see. No, that's like a 4 to 6 week injury, possibly worse, who knows. But they're always a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks, aren't they? We've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
So you've got no right backs now until Joe Gomez comes back. But again, you're in that position where you can't play Joe Gomez every game, plus he might be needed to play centre back at some point as well. So I suppose where I'm going with this is, will we go in the market? Well, I think we know the answer is that we won't. But should we go in the market to do something? We've only got 2 days left now. I mean, Paul joked in the chat, surely there's somebody at Preston who we can bring in and not play. But I mean, Pete, what are your thoughts? Should we sign someone? Will we sign someone? How do you see it?
Well, will we sign someone is easy, because I think we all know that we won't.
Yeah.
Should we? That's more. It depends. If I'm being fair and honest here, it would very much depend on who we're looking at. what kind of player are we talking about here? Because if we're, the type of player that Paul was probably alluding to there, if that's the type of player, then I'd rather we didn't, because that was a waste of time and money probably, and didn't really help us that much
at all. He didn't play.
I mean, yeah, and
Ozan
the other time
as well.
Yeah, he played a few games,
yeah.
But that I think probably some of the youth players could have done the same kind of job. So if that's the caliber of players that are available now, then I'd rather we didn't do anything. Obviously, you'd like to think that they always talk about having followed players for years and years. I mean, so some of them could you not move someone forward 6 months? Or are we at least maybe trying to make some calls and see if anyone could be available 6 months sooner than expected for a small price?
Yeah,
I mean, we don't know if that's happening, but this was the same issue that Jürgen had almost every time we had injuries halfway through the season, that people were talking about getting someone in, and we rarely didn't. I mean, I know we signed Van Dijk in that was December, but that was kind of different. But it's just not really been the way they do things. So I don't expect them to do anything in the next couple of days either. Not at right back, and probably not in any other position.
So ideally, you would be looking at somebody on your shopping list, potential centre backs who could also play right back, and you could get someone like that in who covers the two positions, because you're not going to sign two players. And in fairness, it makes no sense to go out and sign a right back, because then what happens when
then you have 3 or 4. Yeah.
So that it doesn't make sense to go out and buy a right back unless it's a stopgap. Someone who's maybe not getting a game somewhere and you think he could come in and do a job till the end of the season because we're short of bodies. I would be okay with that. But ideally you would be looking at if a 2 for 1, so like a centre back target who you've got who could also play right back. Now I don't know who that would be. I bet there's somebody on the list though, but I also bet that they wouldn't be willing to overpay to get somebody in now. Now the question I've got for you though, Stu, is I think we're all fairly convinced that we're not going to sign anybody. Now if we go back to say September or October, and there'll be people who'll defend that stance, by the way, about not signing players in January, but if you were to say to those people in September, October time, will we sign someone in January, I think most people would have gone, yeah, we'll definitely get a centre back in because we missed out on Mark Gay, so we'll go back for him. Or if not him, we'll go and sign somebody else. We didn't get the Diaz replacement, which by all accounts was supposed to be Semenyo. We'll go back in January and do that. So we don't get either of those. Okay, different reasons for why we didn't get either. I'm not defending it or condemning it. I'm just outlining it. We didn't get those players. So they're not the only 2 players in the world, and you've still got the desperate need for those players, and that is before all of the injury problems. We still needed those 2 positions even before that. So then you've got injury situation going on, lots of players out, small squad, stretched to the limit, going to get even smaller because you're having to overplay players who were then likely to get injured themselves. To do nothing in January, what do you think the reason for that is? Do you think it reflects on the manager's position, as in they don't want to back him now because they want to see what happens with the manager, or is it just them being like smartest guys in the room, not willing to overspend and all of that nonsense? What do you think the reason is why we haven't signed anyone, Stu?
So I don't think it would be because of the manager. I'm almost, if you've put a gun to my head, I probably think they've had a conversation at the start of the season and they've said we're going to leave some spaces to go and buy again this summer. That's my impression. And so they'll still be thinking that now, that if you've only got a certain amount of slots in the squad, so how many of them do you want to take up with someone that isn't as good as you want in the end, and you're rummaging around a bit in the bargain bin in December?
Well, Stu's gone again.
Well,
Pete,
I
answer that
agree.
question then.
I don't know what he was trying to say. I agree that I don't think that.
Stu, we lost you again there. You're back now, but we lost you.
Oh, right, okay.
I agree with Stu that I don't think that we're holding back signings because we want to sign them under a different manager. I think the club, they sign players and then they give them to the head coach, and for him to sort. And how much say does he have? We don't really know. But I think the club doesn't. I don't think they care about that. I mean, unless he's totally against it. So I don't think that's the reason for us not signing players here in January. I think it's got to be that. Yeah.
The problem you've got is it scuppers your long-term plans now as well, doesn't it? If you don't get in the Champions League, then these big signings that you might be planning on in the summer, that's going to scupper that as well.
Yeah. Plus, you're hanging the manager out to dry.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not particularly a guy who goes you panic and you buy players, because then you're buying players that aren't as good as the ones that you want eventually. But this, I mean, it isn't even a depth thing with the defence either. It's a like a reliability thing. We're carrying 2 senior players in each position. So, do you think we can? A squad should be carrying more than that? I think you could argue, like, say, your 9th defender.
Who's the 4th defender? Are you counting Leone as the 4th?
Yeah, I mean, he's a professional footballer. So you think he should be 5 then? Yeah,
he should be 5.
Well, I think that's fine, but he's played Serie A football, so he's not like some untested youngster, is he? Do you know what I mean? He's a bit of a rising superstar. Is he going to come and play? Is he going to come and be fit from the list for Liverpool?
He should still be 5 for me, and he would have been if they'd signed Mark Gay, which was the plan. Which backs up my point, is that he was 4 because of the failure to get what they needed. And then, see, that's the other thing that annoys me. It then gets spun that, we didn't actually really want to go and buy a centre-back. It was just that was an opportunity that the market threw up where we could get in for a good price, so we thought, yeah, why not? Well, no. If you want that player, you obviously see that there's a need for that player in that position. And if you don't get that player, the need's still there. So that's what I can't accept, that they've got to January and done nothing when they knew that we needed a centre-back.
There's the argument, though, that they saw him as, if he's 3rd centre-back or 4th centre-back, then you go and get him because he's cheap and it's a good little deal. If you're looking to then replace Ibu this summer, he's not the level. Does that argument no?
I agree with that, and I know you agree with it because you think that guy's shit. By the way,
I don't think he's shit. I just think he's really 7 out of 10, and I'm not sure that's what you want if you want to be the best team in the world.
Did you see Gravenberg posted on Instagram last night? Did you see Ekatike's reply?
No.
So Gravenberg just done, it's the standard footballer thing where it's a picture of them in the match and like a couple of emojis or whatever, but obviously he played centre back last night, didn't he? And Ekatike just replied underneath and just put "gay!" exclamation mark. He's definitely got something about him. Hugo, he's a character.
Yeah, definitely. That Barnett, we've got some bad Barnetts in that team right now.
I'm glad he's lightened the shade though, because the yellow was horrible. He's not gone the full white, but he's sort of in between, and it's where he was at the start of the season, which is semi-acceptable to me. But that horrible, just bile-coloured yellow that he had, that was nasty. So I'm glad he's lightened that up a bit.
I'm not sure what Verts is doing with his fringe either.
Yeah, I'm not overly bothered. I'm not overly offended by that.
Fair enough.
We haven't even talked about the goals in the second half. It's just gone off. So second half goals. Pete, goals are your thing. You watch them. Me and Stu haven't watched them back. So talk us through.
Salah free kick. I can't remember the minute. Yeah, that was the 3rd.
50th.
Another set piece goal.
Can I just correct you on something there though?
Yeah.
I wanna clear this up. It's not a Salah free kick. because
No,
then I'd have egg on my face, because I've always said he should be nowhere near free kicks. Don't let him take free kicks. It was a Salah goal from open play from outside the box with a moving ball. It was not a free kick. It was not a dead ball free kick that he's put over the wall, which he's not capable of scoring a goal like that. He can score goals from 20 yards with a moving ball. We've seen that repeatedly, and it's a great strike from him. But don't be coming at me about, you said Mo shouldn't be taking free kicks. He didn't take a free kick. Dom took a free kick.
And Dom, for the second time this season, rolled the ball under his studs in that area, and for the second time, we had a goal.
Yeah. Disrespectful again.
Yeah, totally disrespectful.
I knew they were going to do that free kick though. I seen them put the little draft exclude and I thought, yeah, you've been paying attention to the Marseille one, but this is a mirror image of the Bournemouth free kick, and it was so obvious that Mo was going to be like, okay, you need to set me up for this one now. So I knew they were going to do it before they did, and I don't know, I don't even know how you defend it. Obviously someone's got to break out of the wall to try and make a block, but we worked it well, and it's a great strike. But yeah, it's not a free kick. So,
and me and Stu are both applauding you now silently for being able to predict it, at least afterwards.
No, I predicted it before. I said to my dad, I said, like, he's going to back heel this for Mo. I've got no reason to lie. I haven't.
Whatever. So 4-0 is Ekitike running from halfway, I think.
Yeah, lovely.
And that was the same goal as the one at Frankfurt, I think, when he just ran away from some defender and slid it past the goalkeeper. I didn't actually think that finish was very good, but I mean, good enough.
Yeah, kind of went through the keeper's legs, didn't he?
If that had been Darwin, people would have probably suggested that he should have done something else.
It was Darwin, and he went round the keeper and he'd done everything right, and then he hit the post and Gravenberg scored. But it was exactly like that. It was so, when he was running through, it was exactly like that, except yeah.
And I mean, if Darwin had done exactly the same and scored the exact same goal, people would have probably still said he got lucky.
Yeah, I think Ekitike probably. That was the thing. I always look at a finish and say, if you put it in the corner or something where the keeper's not got a chance, it's a good finish. That one, yeah, it did get a little bit lucky, but what led up to it was brilliant. Just getting the
of course,
touch
yeah. No, just the finish wasn't that good. He very often finishes low.
Yeah. It goes back to what you said earlier as well, though, Pete, about like the pace. It is deceptive. He's way quicker than he looks. Just the running style doesn't, like, in a lot of ways, like, he plays like Torres, but Torres looked like he was lightning. Ekitike doesn't, but he's probably like similar pace. He just doesn't look it just because of the running style.
He's got like a languid style, hasn't he? But
yeah.
Still, and he's quick off the mark as well. Sometimes with those sort of lads, they've got a good top speed, but he's quick off the mark as well, isn't he?
Yeah, it was a lovely goal, really well taken.
He's having a very, very good season.
14
personally,
now, is he?
I think if people had asked us in the summer when we signed him and Isak, which one's going to be on 14 at this stage, not a lot of people would have said Hugo.
Well, I would.
Maybe Ian.
Of those,
yeah, of course. Well, I mean, I said not a lot, and you're obviously one of a kind.
Well, Ekitike's Brownie's boy, and with me, it wouldn't have been a vote for Ekitike. It would have been a vote against Isak.
Yeah.
You're one of a kind. Put that up in lights.
Yeah. Did you detect any sarcasm, Stu?
Yeah.
I didn't.
For which reasons is he one of a kind, Pete?
So 5-0. Should we move on?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought, we got a little bit lucky. I think there was a bounce off a defender that takes him through, but I mean the first touch with his right takes him past the goalkeeper, and then it's easy to put it in with his left, if I recall that correctly.
Yeah. It was.
And that was sort of an easy goal. But what I liked before was that we nearly lost it, but didn't. I mean, we kept the attack alive when we nearly didn't, and then that sort of paid off. And at that stage, people were queuing up to score. So very positive. That was an aspect that I liked last night, was that we kept looking for goals. It was obviously, already settled that we'd win by a lot, but and even when we made substitutions, we still looked for more goals all the way through, and that was something, certainly that we always did under Klopp, and we haven't always done it under Slot, and we did it last night, and I thought that was positive. I know the opposition was, they were so poor, but you could have just said, right, let's just have a stroll and get a 4-0 win, and everyone's happy. But they chased more goals.
Yeah, and that maybe would have happened. What you've just said, that might have happened if we'd been having a better season. But I just think it was the novelty. Like, the players were like, oh, this is an actual open game here where we can go and express ourselves and just enjoy it. And Slot as well, like on the bench, he's probably thinking a big win would do me a bit of good here as well. Get the fans entertained, and it was what we needed to do. So we did keep going forward for more goals. I think the 5th goal was just after the hour. I think it was.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking at this point, we could easily get 8 or 9, and I don't think it was for the lack of trying that we didn't do that. Because I do think we did keep going forward, but.
I think you're right, but we lost rhythm once the substitutions,
yeah, you do.
And they made subs, and we sort of lost rhythm, and then gradually they all found their way into the game, and that sort of set up the last 10 or 15, and we had, in my mind, we had lots of chances towards the end, and obviously scored from 2 of them, but we, as you said earlier, we could have had more. How McAllister didn't score from that chance that Mo put on a plate for him, and still called himself a professional footballer.
All right, it's a bit
it's
hard.
just like, it's just that was just awful.
It was awful, yeah.
But obviously he had credit, and he laughed at it, and you could see Mo sort of shaking his head.
I don't think Mo was laughing. Mo's just been denied an assist there, and I don't think he was happy.
So no, but we kept looking for goals, and I think let's take that positive if nothing else.
So the substitutions, I was probably, as soon as Hugo scored, I think I was like, okay, get him off now and get Wirtz off. It wasn't that much longer after that. I think it was just after the 5th goal that he made the change, and they were the 2 to come off, which absolutely the right thing to do. They could have stayed on and scored more goals than that, but it's about the bigger picture, and those 2 have got to be protected at all costs, because I think we will go this season as far as Wirtz and Ekitike, as far as they take us. I think we're completely reliant on those 2 right now, because we've not, Mo did some things last night, but if you look at what he's produced over the season, like numbers wise, he is not the player that we're looking to now to go, we'll go as far as Mo Salah takes us, which has been the case his whole time here. That is not the case now. The torch is being passed. It's Wirtz and Ekitike now who we're relying on. So if for us to do anything this season, they're going to have to be doing the heavy lifting, I think. So getting them off early was sensible. So it was.
You could argue they should. Yeah, you could argue they should have gone off even sooner than.
Yeah,
they did.
that's what I was saying. I think after Hugo's goal, I think that was about 55, 57, something like that. I would have done it then, but it was about 5 minutes later, so I've got no quibble with that. But yeah, you've got to protect them at all costs. And then this was the first time all season that Rio's got on in like a favourable situation where it's not desperate, and he's got on where it's like, okay, go on, just go and enjoy yourself. And Trey Ione come on as well. I think that was the double change, wasn't it? It was those 2, and then it was Chiesa and Nallo a bit after that. But yeah, what did you make of Rio, Stu?
I think he showed the same sort of things as he's shown in his little cameos that we've seen before, in that he's an incredibly talented kid, but he's still a kid. and he's a not bad little in case of emergency break glass and give him 15 minutes to go past someone. But with kids at that age, obviously his decision making still really raw. You can see it when he shoots when he should passes when he should shoot, tries to, he's already beaten a man and he's going back and trying to beat him again. Bits like that you're going to get with talented attacking players at 17. The more chance you get to get him on the pitch and give him experience, the better. But
yeah, it's easier to do that if you're 3-0 up instead of having him come on at 1-1 against.
Taking it lightly how talented he is. He's a player like that. That footwork, that ability to go past someone.
Yeah, you dropped out again there, Stu, but we just carried on without you. Don't worry about it.
Is Stu even going to be on this?
I know. So that was a sensible change that was made, and then not too long after that, fucking Dom actually got some time off. What's going on? Dom was brought off. Who was the other sub? It was Dom and who's the other one who came? It was Gakpo. Wasn't he? Yeah.
Gakpo was the first one to come off, wasn't he?
Was he? I thought it was the double change when Rio and Naoni came on. I thought that was for. It was Ekitike and Verts, and then the next double change it was Gakpo and Dom.
Right.
Yeah. So Chiesa. I mean, Chiesa was always going to score, wasn't he? I think that was inevitable. If you give him that amount of time on the pitch against an opponent like that when we're still attacking, he's always going to score. So that was all I was waiting for, and like that made the night for me. Just Freddie's goal and his little beaming face afterwards.
Nice assist from Verge as well.
So I want to ask about that because I'd seen someone on Twitter, and this comes down to whatever Slot does, people are going to be like having a go at him. Someone was like legitimately trying to say, look how pissed off he was that Chiesa scored. So you see the goal, and then it's about 30 seconds after the goal, and the camera goes to Slot, and he does look like he's annoyed about something. Now, we didn't see his reaction when the goal went in and that, but I do wonder, putting myself in his shoes there, I might be pissed off at Virgil running forward, 5-0 up, me 34-year-old only fit centre half, and he's running forward in stoppage time into the other team's box to create a goal. I might actually, and I'm like Mr. He Who Dares Wins, aren't I? Like, it's all about like attack and play. Even I might have been a bit pissed off and said to Virgil afterwards, what the fuck are you doing? You could have pulled a hamstring or anything then, and then where would we be? So
do you really think that was it?
No, I don't. I think he was probably celebrated the goal, and then the cameras caught him at a moment where his face has just reverted back to normal or whatever. But the way it was edited, it did look like he was a bit pissed off about something. But if he is pissed off about something, I think that would be a fair enough thing to be pissed off about.
I think there was a VAR check, and maybe that was what he was annoyed at.
Yeah, maybe it could have been that. Yeah.
I mean, it was a stroll up pitch, wasn't it? It didn't break into a sprint, did he? He just strolled up, a couple of 1-2s, and then in you go.
No, it's great play, but I would not want to be seeing him up there when they've got no other centre backs available.
That's probably the first time a centre back's ever had 3 assists in a Champions League game.
What was the 3? So the header on Mac is 1.
The big Ekitike one that was the ball forward thing, yeah.
Stu, talk to me about the validity of assists. Use that as exhibit A, and you can use Mo's back heel the other day and Dom's back heel. That's exhibit B and C.
Yeah, just lumping it forward from centre back. There you go. There's your assist.
Do you think he was just lumping it forward for the Ekitike goal, or was it actually?
He was picking him out. He was definitely picking him out, but even so,
he's landed it on the head of a defender basically, and Ekitike's done the work, hasn't he?
Yeah. But Chiesa's little face.
But Chiesa's assist was decent. I mean,
it was a really good assist, but it's a decent finish as well. But you expect that from him. He's a good finisher, isn't he?
Yeah.
And nobody loves it more.
Yeah, always gonna. I mean,
Stu's gonna get.
If that goal had been 15-0, he would have had the same big smile on his face.
Yeah.
As we.
Yeah, we lost you there, Stu. Say what you were gonna say because we didn't get any of it.
Yeah, no, just keep dropping out. It's doing me head in. Yeah, I was just saying that we always say that you throw Chiesa on, he always works the keeper, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Absolutely always.
Yeah, and he's just the happiest man alive. Just happy to be there, isn't he?
Is he going?
And you just love him.
Going when?
Is he leaving this? He won't. I mean, there's been so much talk. Yeah.
I know there's been talk, but there's no way we could let him go. It's Ekatike's not playing 90 minutes. You need somebody to bring on, and Chiesa's perfect to come on for the last 15 minutes, isn't he?
But he's another one though where we're talking about. I love him, but again, why are we carrying these players? If his body can't stand up for playing games, the likes of him, Gomez, Bradley, we have to look at that. That why we're in the situation we're in is because we're carrying players that we can't bear the minutes. If you know what I mean, we can't do that going forward, really.
Yeah, and it's not a new thing. We knew all of this going into the season. The only thing you can say is unlucky is Frimpong. Nobody saw that coming. He's not a player who's got like a history of injuries at all, and now he's had 3 hamstring injuries in the same season. So that's not something you can predict based on like previous history, but it does point to conditioning of the players. You know, there's definitely an issue there.
Yeah.
Chiesa was only supposed to be playing 10-15 minute cameos here and there, so his issue, his fitness issues wouldn't have really mattered if everyone else was fit.
But you can't.
But when no one is, then all of a sudden it's an issue.
Yeah.
You can maybe have it from your 6th forward, but you can't have it from your 5th forward, can you?
No. Which he was the 6th last year, and it was fine. But no, not when because we rotated 5 strikers last year, and they all got plenty of playing time.
Every single one of them did a job at some point.
So now you're still sort of saying that if you're including Wirtz as one of the strikers, but that's not what he was signed for. I know that's how it's played out, but that's because you didn't replace Diaz. Right, we've covered the goals. We need to talk about I'm a bit loath to do this, to be honest, because I don't really enjoy going through press conferences and picking things out and going, oh, he said this and he said that, nitpicking. And I've said repeatedly, I think Slot's press conferences and all that is one of the things that have stopped me from just turning on him. I think he talks well most of the time. He's really honest. He doesn't bullshit you with like trying to say we played well when we didn't, and I appreciate all of that. But recently, and it's probably self-preservation mode with like the amount of criticism that he's seeing and feeling like he's going to hit back. There's been a few things recently where it's like, oh, come on, mate, don't be saying that. That's not doing you any favours. And we got one after this when he spoke about, 2 years ago we were losing to Atalanta in the Europa League, and I've seen on Twitter everyone's going mad about it, and it looks worse when it's written down than when he said it. But I actually saw the video of it before I seen it written down, and I thought it was bad then, and the rest of it was sound. He made loads of good points about, I'm going to be myself, I'm going to be true to myself, this is who I am, I'm going to give you long answers, and sometimes you might take a bit out of that, and maybe it'll be misinterpreted, or you might not like what I've said, and I'll deal with that. But when he said that, I found it an odd thing to say, because I didn't really get where he was going, and the only thing I can think of was it was a roundabout way of trying to remind us we were in the Europa League, which means we didn't finish in the Champions League places the year before, so don't forget that, it happens. Now, I don't know if that was his motivation or not. It just seemed a bit of a weird thing to shoehorn in. So, have you seen it, Stu?
No, I've not seen it. I've seen the quotes, but I've not seen the press conference.
So, what do you make of the quote? Why would you say something like that? What's the,
I mean,
what's the motivation?
I feel like that's more spiky than the one where he was saying we've only won the league twice in 30 years. I understand that more because essentially, a bit surprised sometimes that people my age that doesn't resonate with them a little bit more, because you are of the generation where you have only seen us win the league twice. As good as we were under Klopp, we have only seen, he is one of the people who got that over the line, and I don't mind when he's being attacked that he's going to point that out to you, that, you know, for all that we are a massive club, we have only got over the line twice in 30 years. I got you over the line once. Can you show me a bit of respect? I do get that.
It's 2 in 35 though, isn't it?
It's what?
It's 2 in 35, not 2 in 30.
Well, even more then.
But he did say, but also I think people got annoyed about that because he'd said it was 2 in 5 when he won it. He said,
I know, but again, that's fine. He can be magnanimous when there's no pressure on him. When there's a bit of pressure on him, I don't mind him putting out some harsh reality.
Yep, Stu's gone again. Pete, do you want to take over?
I just think that you know, it's sort of a spiral, isn't it? Once you're in it, once he's in it, then, you know, people, probably the press, some fans, start to pick out little moments, and they get, you know, they have more meaning. If we'd been having a great season and we're playing well every week, you know, then we wouldn't have so much emphasis on stuff like, you know, what he said in a press conference. And, you know, I mean, he's sort of brought it on himself because we haven't played very well. So I'm not, you know, it's not a defence here, but I just think that once it starts turning the wrong way, then this kind of thing is only going to get worse.
Yeah.
So we might have a good period for a while. We, you know, results wise, we had sort of an okay period. But then once you start seeing bad results like last week, then it resurfaces, and it's got, the strength is bigger than, you know, it's stronger. The criticism gets stronger, the pressure gets higher, and it's sort of you know, you can only put it off for so long. And, you know, some people make their minds up, and some people made their minds up a long time ago that we need to change. But you know, and once you're there, you know, that I just don't see any way of ever really, you know, turning it round.
Not without a massive turnaround in like the performances.
And even,
it's not about results, is it? Because we were unbeaten in 14, whenever it was. Nobody was really buying into that.
No, because the performances weren't very good. But if we'd not had, like, what was it, 9 defeats in 12 before, then people would look at that and say, you know, we were perhaps unbeaten in 17 or whatever, you know, or 1 or 2 defeats in 15, 20 games. You know, that would be okay. But because of what came before, then you know, all of a sudden you don't get the benefit of the doubt. You get probably the opposite. So, you know, and that's the sort of spiral that he's in at the moment, which is why I can't, you know, it's so unlikely that we're all of a sudden going to be, you know, that he's going to turn it round, and, you know, within a month we're going to be playing the kind of football and having the results that we were hoping for before the season. You know, I can't really see it, and that's obviously, you know, that's a lot to do with him, but it's also to do with everything around, you know, being at a big club with expectations and fans, and, you know, that all have, you know, they all have their opinions, and so the pressure just builds towards, you know, the inevitable for me, and I think, and probably, you know, most people will agree that it is only a matter of time. I mean, it's always a matter of time for any manager, but you know, you don't see us having Slot for the next 7 years, do you?
Well, not
like when we had with Jurgen, we were all expecting him to, you know, keep going forever. No one could sort of imagine without him.
Getting at like the next 7 weeks. I wasn't expecting.
I mean, that's what I mean. So I mean, that's what I mean. When I say it's a matter of time,
days even, you know, if it goes badly against Newcastle.
When I say it's a matter of time, it's like, so either you do it at some point after a bad result, or if, you know, if you've managed to find another solution, or you do it, and, you know, you'd expect it to happen in the summer at at the latest.
Yeah. Well, Stu, I mean, the result at Bournemouth, that in itself, you shrug that off if we've beaten Leeds at home, Sunderland at home, more convincing performances in those games. If that unbeaten run had have included a few more wins and good wins, when you lose at Bournemouth like that, I think people are more likely to just shrug and go, you know what, you can lose games like that.
Yeah.
The reason why it was a tipping point for some was because the unbeaten run was not impressive for the most part. I mean, there was some decent performances in there, but by and large, I go back to what Jules kept saying. It's a house of cards built on sand, and that's how it was. It was proved to be that against Bournemouth. But in terms of what that means now, I mean, I suppose I do feel a bit sorry for him in the sense I do think comments are being over scrutinised, and most of what he's saying doesn't really deserve to be scrutinised. But there are some examples where you think, no, what have he stood that for? I mean, the obvious one again was the bizarre thing about, and he doubled down on it last night as well. Actually, the saying losing to PSG might have helped us win the title because we were only playing one game a week, and he doubled down on it and he tried to explain what he meant, and I'm still listening to it going, no, because we were on 70 points and Arsenal finished the season on 74, therefore 75 points was going to be enough to win the league. Now at the time he didn't know that, so if he was saying when we got beat by PSG, a part of me was thinking, oh, this is going to help us win the league now because we're only playing one game a week, then that makes sense. But he's talking with the benefit of hindsight, and he's saying it did help us. But how? Because we only needed 5 points from the last 9 games. And did he think that was in jeopardy if we were still in the Champions League? But again, it's don't say it. You don't need to say anything like that. There's nothing to be gained by saying it.
And we didn't even play that well towards the end
because the results are shit. It doesn't really mean anything, does it?
No, but people are gonna dive on that because it is a weird thing to say.
But that's all it is. It's just weird, though, isn't it? It's not. He's not justifying bad performances or anything with that one. I get what I was saying before I cut out was. I think there's a difference between the league when he's going on about the league. I think there's a difference there to the Europa League comment, because with the league one he's saying only 2 guys have delivered, so show me a bit of respect. With the Europa League thing, he's got to be careful because then he's now going, well, one of those other guys that delivered didn't really leave me in a great situation, and I think if he starts with that one, that's not going to wash. I'm very supportive of the idea he did a really good job, and it wasn't just Jurgen's team that he won the league with, but he's got to be a bit careful going, well, it wasn't that great before me, because it was pretty good before you, mate.
Even the season before, he only finished with 2 more points than we got the season before. You can't legislate for what other teams do. So there's always elements of luck in winning a title anyway, and we've been so unlucky many times
you say
because of that.
We were coasting.
Yeah, I know, but still.
So
the numbers are the numbers, and when you get a really high points tally and you don't win the league because somebody else has had a great season.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not fair to be saying, oh, you didn't win the league. All the bullshit about, oh, Klopp only won 1 title. Look at the points tallies he was getting. He wins the league most years with those points tallies, but sometimes it's out of your control. So I don't think bringing up the Atalanta thing, I don't know, I just don't even know where he was going.
The one thing I will say,
dwell on it really.
The one thing I would say for that though is I do feel especially the last few games where the football I think's been better, the Burnley, Marseille, Bournemouth, it's not been as slow and whatever. I think we do look a bit like some of those flawed seasons under Klopp in those games. When you're saying we're shrugging because we're like, oh well, you lose them sometimes. I think that what surprised me about the Burnley game being a flashpoint was that the football actually was better in the Burnley game.
Yeah, it was.
And Marseille and even Bournemouth. People are going on, we want a bit more crash bang wallop rock and roll football. You're getting it. I just feel like in the last few games we've looked a bit more like a flawed Klopp team that finishes 4th or something, rather than a slow, controlling shit team that people didn't want to watch. So,
do you think that's because, I mean, he's had this in press conferences, it's not just fans saying it, journalists are now asking him stuff that fans are saying, so he's getting, the fans think your football's boring. Do you think that's got to him to the point where, because Carr's analysis of the Bournemouth thing, the last 10 minutes of that game, like I didn't realise at the time exactly how mad it was.
Yeah.
When you've got like 7 players sprinting into the box, nobody staying outside the box to pick up loose balls and protect the counter attack. It was just everyone just charging into the box. That's why he's not a defensive manager.
No.
Like he isn't. I know like people are saying the football's negative and all that, but there's a difference between like negative, boring football and being a defensive manager.
He's a controlling manager.
Yeah,
isn't he?
He is absolutely not negative at all. And you see players charging in the box like that, and I wonder, is this a reaction to he's aware of the criticism? This is boring. It's not attacking enough, and then he's gone, okay, well, let's do that. But the problem is, when we do that, we become vulnerable. We can't have it both ways. It's like, if he sets up the team to not be vulnerable, we're complaining like because the attacking side of it's just not good enough and it's shit to watch.
But bear in mind,
so then when you go the other way, we just become vulnerable.
There's no team. When they say no, you can't build a balanced team. Who is this balanced team that people are talking about?
No, I don't know, because Arsenal are way too negative. Their fans, I actually heard like loads of their fans ringing up the radio wanting Arteta sacked after they got beat by United.
A week.
And they're 4 points clear at the top, won every Champions League match. In theory, you're going, what the hell are they talking about? Wanting the manager sacked and all that. But it's because they look at the team and the squad they've got and think, why are we playing like this? We should be so much better than this. So nobody's really playing this great football. But
City play a bit of footy, but you can go right through them.
Yeah.
Newcastle play grinding, horrible football. Like, I just think maybe, I don't know, I'm not trying to make excuses for it. Maybe just modern football is not. It's just, are you going to get another Klopp team that does that, or anyone who tries to do that Klopp football? Are you going to just run yourself into the ground and finish third? I genuinely don't know. I think there's loads of stuff up in the air at the moment about how the Premier League is.
I think a lot of it is about when you turn it on and when you don't. I mean, you've got to be able to do more than one thing. So in certain situations in games, you need to be able to be boring. If that's what the game calls for, be boring for 15 minutes and just hold on to the ball and then build from there. Or, I don't think any team can just attack non-stop all the time in every game. And, we tried, and the seasons that we were best under Klopp was, they were the seasons when we were also able to defend when we needed to, in periods of games, sometimes not very long periods.
It's got to be balance, hasn't it?
You have to be able to do that when the situation calls for it. And, we haven't this season. I mean, you take a few steps back and, the opposition score, and it's happened so often this season. And it never used to. Not the same. I mean, we've talked about how his mindset is to defend when we're one up, or it has been this season definitely in some games, that their instinct is to pull back and allow even shit teams the initiative, and then more often than not we've seen them score. And I just think you've got to be able to read games better as a team. We need to keep the ball here, and as long as we keep the ball, they can't score or put us under much pressure. And all of us, so many games we've just had players panic, kick the ball into the air, move 10 yards back, then move another 5 yards back. And every team we play in the league, they're all good enough to capitalise.
Yeah, they smell blood, don't they? And then that's when you get the long throws coming in and all of that stuff. And we've not dealt with it.
I think if you asked him what his perfect football is, I think he's probably, I was saying in the group, the whole Spain 1-0 thing, where they weren't a defensive team, they just controlled games because they just kept the ball forever and you couldn't get it off them, and that's sort of how they defended. I think that's probably the sort of football that he would see as what he'd be looking for as like a controlling manager rather than attacking manager or a defensive manager. And I do think some of the dropping back, I don't think he'd want us to do that. I don't think he's asking the team. I think the players are a little bit, because we've had we've had results that have gone against us and moments that have gone against us. I think the player.
Yeah, Stu's away. He started the season off by being criticised for being too naive when Bournemouth scored on counters.
Yeah, and ironically, it was the same thing in the last Bournemouth game.
Yeah, and I think that probably scared him a little bit, and then or maybe even scared the players, and that's probably what's happened in games after that they've been a little bit of scared to commit to going forward, or I'd probably better off hanging back a little bit, and then all of a sudden you leave the other team with the initiative in games, and then anything can happen, and it usually does.
The most jarring example of it was the Tottenham away game, and again it was like when Qarabag highlighted on Monday Night Football, and you're watching Slot and he's like gesturing to the players, he's telling them push up the pitch, go and close them down when Tottenham had the ball at the back, and he didn't do it, and then Tottenham were hitting it long, and then they were winning second balls and that, and it was clear like that was not what he was telling them to do. But then you've been here 18 months, the players should be doing what you're coaching them to do. This is something like early in a reign, if players are like doing what they were doing before, or they're not sure, and you get that, I feel like this shouldn't be happening, especially when you've got Van Dijk at the back.
Yeah, it's strange.
He should not be allowing that, Pete. He's like,
but he's not even, he's not even free of criticism.
No, but
himself,
he's
because
the leader. He should be stopping that from happening. He should be getting them up the pitch, surely.
Yeah, and he's also been one to hit them long when he didn't have to, or head it up into the air, and instead of just sort of bringing it down and playing it to his fullback or back to the goalkeeper, for the tempo to sort of drop a little bit, and then we build from there. And it's so, I don't know if it's because he's not had the same, confidence in his own game, or whatever it is, that the senior players haven't been able to be calm in those situations.
He's not a wartime leader. He's a great peacetime leader, but he's not a wartime leader.
But these things, like, that's sort of footballing ABC, to be able to keep the ball and relieve pressure. And so many games we've not been able to do it. We've just sort of dropped back.
Not in the Champions League though, which brings me to my next point. Can we win it? I said a couple of pods ago, like, I think we can win it. I'm not saying we're favourites or anything, but I can see a world where we win the Champions League this year. Can you two see that? I'll start with you, Stu.
Yeah, definitely. We've got good enough players, and they've got a bit of that muscle memory. A few of them have got that muscle memory of being in those Champions League finals. So we can. I wouldn't be putting money on us to win it at the moment, but a lot can change in a couple of months when the fixtures start rolling again. I do worry now that the injuries are going to derail any possible hopes of a recovery this season. Though I've been confident pretty much all season that we'll get back into the Champions League, just because we've got enough quality. The depth now is worrying me, that you've got like 13 fit players.
Yeah. So do you prioritise Champions League then? Like, I'm talking about actual Champions League games, not qualification for it. If you've got, say, Hugo, for example, you've got a big week coming up, and you cannot start him in both games, are you starting him in the Champions League knockout match, or are you starting him in the Premier League game?
I suppose the argument would be that there's more room for recovery in the Premier League to get the qualification, and there's no room for recovery in the actual knockout. So,
but you can't win the Premier League, but you can win the Champions League.
No, you can't. Well, at this point, I think with the squad where it is, you're not being realistic if you're saying you're going to win the Premier League. I think you're looking at a serious run at the Champions League, and then qualifying for the Champions League again to get back into it.
So what are you prioritising then?
I don't think you've got the luxury of prioritising one or the other. I think I'd probably lean towards...
It's not a luxury, it's a necessity though. If you're having to start players in one game over the other, or you're thinking, I don't know if I can play him in this game and that game, so which one am I starting and which one am I putting on the bench?
Well,
you do have to prioritise.
last 16, whatever the first game is, I'm going very strong in that first game in the last 16.
That's away, and then the second leg's home.
You maybe get yourself an easier game in the second leg then. There's that argument that you have to start looking at things like that. I just don't think he can survive putting out a weakened team in the Champions League and going out. So he has to put his strongest team out in the Champions League and then see what you can do in the league. And with it being a weird league where, you know, maybe 60 something gets you into the Champions League, then I think you have to look at winning those Champions League games for me. Because again, with Liverpool, and you have to, what can you win? You have to look to win something, don't you? So I would probably lean towards the Champions League slightly.
Pete, what do you think?
I think, can we win? Yeah, because, you know, it's, well, I say one-off games. They're obviously return legs, most of them. But we can turn it on for one game and win, you know, pretty much against anyone if we have a good game. So obviously we do have a chance. Like Stu said, I wouldn't put money on it, not with the injury situation the way it is.
Not when
I don't know how
Premier League teams in as well.
How far?
Premier League.
Yeah, how far away is that last 16 game we've got coming up? You know, how long before?
Isn't it
because
late February, I think?
Can we have Spurs as soon as possible, please?
So the next opponents are either Juventus, Atletico Madrid, Bruges, or Galatasaray.
Yeah, and they're all teams that we probably think we should beat over two legs.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not saying we definitely will, but we'll be disappointed if we don't.
Yeah, but I always say about it's a different sport and all that. I don't necessarily think it's that much of a different sport if you're playing Atletico Madrid. So that's one I would want to avoid, and I would definitely want to avoid Juventus for obvious reasons. So ideally you're looking at a reunion with the MIG. Bruges would be nice. I don't even mind Galatasaray because it's a chance to set the record straight, because we were dog shit that night.
I mean, we were still better than them. They're shit.
Yeah. No, there's no way we'd go out to Galatasaray over two legs. No chance. Yeah. So them or Bruges, ideally. And then after that, you get to the last 8. More than likely, you're probably going to... The likelihood is you're going to get an English team then. As you say, Spurs, but even Spurs, we struggled to beat them, and they had like 9 men. They were still knocking on the door, weren't they?
I think we could, not saying we will, we could beat any of the other Premier League teams over two legs.
Yeah. And in terms of the big hitters from Europe, I mean, over two legs, this version of Real Madrid doesn't scare me, but I would not want them in a final.
No, 1-2 games, yeah.
Barcelona, not terrifying. Bayern Munich, probably the best of the rest, but again, there's nothing to make you be like scared of them. So I mean, yeah, who knows? I would back us to beat Bayern Munich over Brentford all day, every day.
Yeah. And
it sounds like a mad thing to say, but that's where we're at. Like the way the Premier League is now, it's like every single game is a war of attrition. Even Wolves, I mean, Wolves are the worst team in the league, but they're not easy to play against.
I'm not sure about that Bayern thing.
Both their centre midfielders play for Brazil. This is the thing when people talk about like how the Premier League, Wolves, like relegation candidates, both their centre mids have got caps for Brazil. Like, yeah. You couldn't say that years ago.
I know. The standard is, it's like the standard at the bottom is higher than it's ever been, but I also think the quality at the top. There's no. If Arsenal's the best team, then this is a poor league at the top. That's all I can say. Because in years gone by, this Arsenal team would not really be. They'd be third at best, wouldn't they? But now because City have dropped off and we've dropped off. United have obviously dropped right out the picture as well. The top of the league is not great, but the bottom of the league is tough. So I mean, with the Champions League, we could win it. But in terms of like top 4, top 5 now, I've not been in doubt all season.
Same.
I kind of am now, partly because of what you said, Stu. Also because, United and Chelsea got rid of the managers, and they're getting that new manager bounce, which may or may not last. We don't know, but I'm looking at them and going, yeah, not worried about them, not worried about them. Then they make a change, and now all of a sudden United have beat City and Arsenal. Now it's a small sample size, but still they have beat City and Arsenal. So you're like, oh, okay, maybe we do have to take them a bit more seriously now, especially given the state that we're in. So we're currently 6th, and I think the next 3 games, next 3 league games, should be decisive in terms of his future. If it goes badly, I don't see any way how he can make a case for staying. That's not to say that they'll sack him, because I've got no idea what they'll do. But in terms of me personally, I've not called for him to be sacked. If they sacked him tomorrow, I would not have an issue with it at all. But I'm not like demanding it, mainly because I don't know what Alonso's intentions are. So that's what I wanted to ask, because neither of you have been on for a while, and certainly not since Alonso came available. What would it, Stu, you said you still think he gets time to turn it around. At what point do you stop that and go, okay, no, enough's enough? What if the next 3 games, we've got Newcastle at home, City at home, and then Sunderland away? How many points are you looking at from that, or are you not bothered about the points so much, and it's more so the performances?
Yeah, it's performances over points, isn't it, really? But I don't know. I'm in a weird place now where I think he could go, and we still don't know whether he was good enough to turn it around or not. I genuinely think the hand he's been dealt there with the players he's going to have available over the next few weeks and months. I don't know how you manage that, really, because we are so short at the back. I don't know. I think there's a fair chance that if he maybe doesn't get results and performances and he goes, and I'm still not sure in my head that he couldn't have turned it around. I think he could go elsewhere at a different club that doesn't care as much about the intensity of the football, and I think he could be a success. And in the same way, I'm not totally convinced Alonso is going to come in and be the answer and be what we want. But yeah, Newcastle and City, that Newcastle game is going to be so attritional, and then City we might get a result against City, but what would that tell us? This is what I'm saying. Like, I get that 2 losses would tell us something, I suppose, but what would 2 results or 2 good performances tell us? Would that convince anyone that's not convinced? I don't think it would it?
No.
Is there anyone that's not convinced by him now? 2 good results, they're convinced.
No,
I don't think there is.
Unless
I think we'll be a month down the line and we'll
as well.
Yeah, I think we'll probably still be. A lot of us will still be wherever we are now. I think the fact it's 2 home games probably doesn't help him, because I think if they go badly, then and the crowd go at him again, which is just justifiable if you're there. It's a tiny thing. I don't think it's helpful either that the club are winding the fans up before they go in as well, because you're all queuing for 20 minutes, half an hour on cold days, and then you're getting in the ground. I don't think that. I mean, it's only a 1%, but I don't think that's helping him, is it?
No, it's not, because it puts you in a bad mood before you even get in. It does.
Yeah. It's like the club's taking the piss out of you again. They've not bought a centre back, and you're in a queue
for 40 minutes and got in a couple of minutes after kick-off, and we've been there 40 minutes. It's not been quite as bad the last couple of games, but at its peak, it was ridiculous how long we were having to queue up to get in. So it does put you in a bad mood.
You're getting in and you're fuming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it'll answer me either way. 2 great performances, I suppose you get a bit more faith in him. But I don't see 2 great performances, and because they just don't really have the squad and the options. Like, we haven't got the legs now in the last 20 minutes in a game. I'm worried about us because we haven't got changes, we haven't got options. And I said, how many times I say on the pod last year, the 5 forwards, the fact you can constantly change it, and they're all jumping in, they're all giving you they all did 0.4 non-penalty goals, so they'll all give you 4 goals in 10. That was what got us. That's what strolled us to the league for me.
Yeah. No, I agree, and we haven't got that now, and it shows. Pete, have you got anything to add to that? And does Alonso's presence on the market now, does that change anything? Does it speed it up in your mind?
Oh, I don't know. I think it changes things for Slot, that he's, it's just added to the pressure. and and Alonso probably being everyone's ideal candidate now, being available. It's so much out in the open that look at what we can get if we act, because if we wait, he might go to someone else.
Yeah.
So that complicates things. With regards to the next couple of games, I'd obviously love to see great performances and the right sort of attitude from the players. I want to see that they believe in him still, and if that starts to change and the crowd start and that whole atmosphere starts to turn negative, that's just the next part of the spiral, isn't it? That's sort of an irretrievable thing. The crowd. I don't think you can get the crowd back once you've lost it. So,
and we're not there yet. Definitely not. One thing I have to say about the crowd, and it's something I've noticed that's not the way it's been in years gone by when things have been going badly. The crowds are not on the players' backs. Like, so many times in the past I remember when like the team's not doing well and a specific player, let's say my boy Cody for example, in years gone by he would be getting dogs abuse and it would be really audible around the ground. Like Lucas for example, we remember like what Lucas had to go through. Cheered when he got substituted. It's not like that now. It's more apathy than anything else. It's not really hostile, it's just apathy. People are just sitting there just kind of bored and quiet. So it hasn't turned nasty. Now it might. I'm not saying it's not going to go that way, but so far it's not been like that.
Well, as long as it hasn't, then I don't think he's going to go.
But you may get a full time. It's different. You may get reactions at full time. What I'm saying is individual
and then
players.
You take that into
targeted.
the next. No, I mean if you get it at full time, then you that gets taken into the next game.
And he's getting asked about it in press
so
conferences.
It's not even just immediately after games. It's all through the week ahead of the next game, and then that sort of atmosphere gets taken into the next one, and he gets to, answer questions about the atmosphere and the sort of job he thinks he's doing, and I think that the Alonso thing has made it worse for him. Maybe not for us, but certainly for him.
You say
in an ideal...
It's not made it worse for us, but I think it's changed things for us. It's changed things for me, because a big reason why I was never, he's got to go. I was like, what's the point?
Yeah, no one's
what are you
available.
going to do?
Other option,
I'm not getting rid of him to bring a caretaker in. Why would you do that? But now the situation's different now, because it's like, well, there is somebody there if you choose to do it, but how much longer will he be there if you don't do it, and then somebody else maybe comes in, because City might go for him, or City might go for company, in which case Bayern Munich will go for him. So I do think it definitely changes things in the fans' mind, because you're worried about somebody else coming in and getting them while we're doing nothing, and then you end up having to sack Slot anyway, but the person who's ideally you wanted to take over is no longer available. But he is available now, so it does change things from that perspective.
Well, we don't really know what to trust. I mean, stories coming out of Spain saying that he's had meetings and that he's willing to take the job, or even now or in the summer, or it's sort of, well, what can we trust? Yeah. Because has he said to his agent, I'm going on holiday, ring me in 3 months to tell me what my options are? Then that's a different situation, but we don't really know, do we?
We haven't got a clue.
I might have missed this, but the stories that came out about him being available and them having a top secret meeting that wasn't actually apparently that top secret.
Top secret was Indy Kyler was reported.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, I mean, when did those stories come out, and when did the club people sort of brief journalists that there was nothing in it? Because normally they just come out and rubbish any transfer rumour, more or less as soon as possible. But this one, in my mind, was left hanging for a few days. But I might have my timeline all wrong.
They probably just weren't treating it seriously. It's not like it was a credible newspaper report or anything. It was just Twitter, wasn't
True,
it?
but they still normally would get a couple of journalists to say, well, my info is that it's complete rubbish.
Yeah, I don't.
Which
I
they
wouldn't
have
read
done
anything-
now.
Yeah, I
They
wouldn't
have
read
done it
anything
now.
into that.
Right.
I think like they did put out, there's no meetings have taken place, which I'm sure is true. That doesn't mean phone calls haven't taken place. I'd like to think that discreet phone calls have taken place, because if not, then what are you even doing? And that doesn't even mean they've made up their mind that he's got to go, but you've got to be prepared. You've got to see what's out there, what are your options, and if you decide at the end of it your best option is to keep him, okay, but you can't just sit there and do nothing while you're in this situation, because if it goes really badly in the next few games and then you've got to do something and you've not laid the groundwork for it, you're not doing your job, are you?
No, and then you're in a worse situation. I mean,
Yeah.
say we lose the next 3 games and decide Slot's not the man, and Alonso is, and he's willing to come in immediately, then we're 3 games later in the season. We've probably got more points to make up, so the task becomes even harder
Yeah.
for a new manager.
It's not an easy situation to be in, but again, it's like I said last time, it's like that's what you paid big money to do, so you've got to get it right. If that's your job, you've got to get it right.
If there's talk that Alonso might be thinking of City, then that's even more imperative to get him, because if we get him, then they do have to follow through with company, and I think that's something that I very much want for the next few seasons.
Yeah.
I would shake hands now on
Unless
company being in charge of City.
The other rumour was true that the Maresca left Chelsea because he'd been lined up by City, but we don't know, do we? But that's another possibility. But yeah, let's get to the Newcastle game. I actually think we'll win. I think it'll be, as you said, Stu, it'll be like completely attritional, and it may not be pleasant, but I think we'll win. I think it'll be 2-1, and it's a night game as well, so hopefully we'll have a better atmosphere than you would from a 3 o'clock game. The team picks itself. We're down to the bare bones, aren't we? The only question is if you've got any injured players coming back, like will Joe Gomez be back? Tend to think probably not. Just because the way Slot was talking, he said he hasn't been ruled out, but that makes me think he's probably not back. Canate should be back, all being well. So he comes back in. Right back's probably going to be Dom, isn't it? I'd like to think so, because I don't want to see Endo against Anthony Gordon.
Yeah.
Maybe Curtis.
Maybe Curtis up against
he's
his best
mates
mate.
with
Yeah, I don't know. None of it's an ideal solution.
Obviously not.
Anything else? Curtis, that's assuming that he's back, because he was ill. So it's whether he's available or not.
I presume that Newcastle game against PSG must have been a pretty tough one for them. It's not a stroll in the park, that is it? That must have been a pretty intense game for them, so that can't be a bad thing for us. I'm
not sure. I haven't seen. I'm just totally guessing based on an interview I heard with Eddie Howe. I don't think that he went like full strength.
Did they not?
Because I know Joe Willock scored, didn't he?
Right. Okay.
Well, he doesn't normally even play. He's not like a regular starter, so they may have mixed it up a little bit. I just heard him saying something like, "I'm picking a team to get the result that I need based on the fitness of everybody." So he may have made some changes last night. I don't know.
The one good thing about Newcastle at home, I suppose, as well, is it'll be a unifying experience for Anfield. It won't be. It just won't be one of those sort of slow afternoons, will it? They'll come here. They'll be knobheads, and hopefully that'll mean that there's a bit of the ground will get up and support the lads, and might be a bit of a hostile atmosphere for them. Yeah, I think so. And as I say, with it being a night game as well, that obviously contributes. I hate Saturday night games, but it's. Did Joe Linton play against PSG? Because I wouldn't want him to be, going down with fatigue 10 times at Anfield on Saturday. Right, let me have a look. I'll tell you what their team was. Let's have a look at it. Because that is going to be interesting. Because you would think that would take a lot out of you. But then I suppose you take confidence from the result as well. They've gone there and got a 1-1 draw. Right, lineups. I suppose so. Let's see. Be a dog of a game, that. So it was. They played 3 at the back.
that Malik Chow, Botman, Dan Burn, Lewis Miley, Lewis Hall wing backs, Tonali and Ramsey in the middle, Willock left wing, Walter Mendy centre forwards, and Alanga on the right.
Pretty
more or less.
close to having them, yeah.
Yeah, Anthony Gordon came on, Harvey Barnes came on, and Visser came on. So yeah, that's no Joe Linton or Gimenez either. Gimenez was on the bench, didn't come on, and no sign of Joe Linton.
Did I see something that they've not won a game when he hasn't played or something? That Bruno, some mad statistic.
I did see it. I don't know if
midweek.
it's true, but yeah, I did see that stat. They've never won a game that he didn't start. Which is
just think of that midfield now: Bruno, fucking Tonali, and that not bad Joe Linton. They're such hard work, aren't they?
Joe Linton's just the worst, isn't he?
You know, we have those conversations about Edwards where you ever go and I support him or whatever. If they brought Eddie Howe in, I'm totally on your on your bandwagon, mate. If Eddie Howe comes anywhere near our fucking club.
Oh God, don't.
But if
Imagine you let Alonso go to City and you appoint Eddie Howe. Imagine that.
And then
if Joe Linton was a hard player, you'd love him.
Oh no, I wouldn't. No, he's a twat.
Yeah, but he'd be hard.
But he's not a good footballer either. He's not shit either, don't get me wrong, he's alright, but no, I would not want him. Yeah, that's like saying if Richarlison played for us, I'd love him. No, I wouldn't. I'd still hate him.
Because if Joe Linton plays for you, then you're playing a certain type of football every week. That's what you're going to go and watch. You're going to go and watch him every week, and no thanks. It's like a die at Arsenal, isn't it?
Alright then, predictions. I've said 2-1.
I think it'll be low scoring. 1-0.
2. Us, Ben?
Yes, us. We're at home, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, would you? You're not going to say 0-1, are you?
No, 1-0 to us.
Stu?
1-1.
Pete's been on the crack pipe predicting a clean sheet.
But yeah, I think the ball's going to be out of play for so long.
Yeah.
So there won't be time for more goals.
It is going to be out of play. The time wasting is going to be off the charts.
0-0 at half time, and then when we get a goal sort of on the hour. That's my prediction.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm going for 2-1. You've gone 1-0. What's Stu saying? 1-1. Mr. Fucking negative as usual.
Mr. Realism.
Thanks for coming on, Stu.
Yeah.
Alright then. So it's a night game, so I'll not recording on Saturday night when I get back. We'll do it at some point on Sunday. So yeah, look out for that. Probably Sunday afternoon. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you soon.